Rahim, I'm really intrigued to bring in this next guest from Commonwealth, Joan Milway. But we hear they've done quite a bit of research that has been, you know, used in a different way to implement, that perfect partnership of self-serve planning and humans and how advice can help with the overall goals. So I'm curious to hear your observations as we bring Joan in. And what are you expecting today?
Yeah, as you said, Caroline, I think it's great on how thoughtful they've been. They've made sure the way in which they position planning, everyone gets a plan, and those that want to take that planning further, there's a human component. So I think the marriage between technology and human, they've done a really good job. So I'm excited to learn more about it, and even from a strategic perspective, why did they do things the way they did? Because it's such a pivot from the rest of the industry. So really looking forward to this conversation with Joan.
Great, let's bring her in.
All right.
I'd like to welcome Joan Milway of Commonwealth Retirement today. Joan, welcome to the BA Voice podcast. We're excited to have you. You're head of product at Commonwealth. So tell us about yourself. What is that role? What do you do all day?
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. Very nice to be here with you and Rahim today. Thanks so much for having me on. So, like you said, I'm head of product at Commonwealth Retirement. We're in the group retirement space, serving small, medium-sized businesses in Canada. And our mission is really around improving access to retirement security for all Canadians. So it really focused in on our digital experience. So that could be for our plan members. So helping them build out retirement plans with self-serve tools, manage their investments, review their payroll contributions, look at their transactions, access educational content, anything really that helps them build up their confidence in their retirement plan. Also building out tools and experiences for our plan admins and sponsors to administer their plans, provide support with contributions and employee management, and assessing the success of their plan as well. Is it helping them meet their goals? And we also build out tools for our advisor partners to manage their book of business, look for new opportunities to grow their business.
Wonderful. Well, that sounds like a full day. So
Yes.
when that day is done, Rahim and I are enjoying getting to know our guests more and more. So when the day is done, what do you like to do for fun, Joan?
Yeah, great question. So now with the nicer weather here, you'll often find me out walking my dog in the park, on the beach, wherever through the trails. I live in Toronto, so lots of nice outdoor spaces. Travel whenever I can. Been doing some travel within Canada this summer, which has been really nice. And I love food. So anything food related, I'm into that as well.
Wow. Okay. Favorite restaurant on the spot.
Favorite restaurant on the spot? I'm in the East End of Toronto. I love, I'm going to try and pick one. I love the Rent on the Danforth. It's just a classic laid back space where you're going to get great food, great service. And yeah.
All right. Good choice.
Amazing. Yeah. So to share a little bit of my current interests, I always like to try new things. I am not that creative in terms of doing things like art or painting and those types of things, but I am challenging myself to learn how to make a big, huge balloon arch because I'm hosting my brother's 50th birthday party. So I'm told it's not too bad. I've watched a few YouTube videos, but I'm going to know pretty soon if it's an epic success or fail.
Exciting.
And Rahim, we'll hear what you're up to shortly, but I want to dive in with Joan today. So part of what you mentioned in your introduction, Joan, was we're going to narrow in on that self-serve planning. So when I'm looking on a banking website or any really provider website that offers planning when it comes to savings plans, there's going to be that question, the Q&A that you can submit, just you and the computer, and there's going to be some output. So we're going to talk about some really interesting things that you've learned, and overall, you've been at this for 7 years in terms of when What problem were you trying to solve when you started, and why did this self-serve planning or digital solution, one might call it, why did that feel like the right answer?
Thanks so much for the question. When we got into the market at Commonwealth, we were trying to make financial security in retirement more accessible to Canadians, and we're still at it 7 years later. We actually started out in the consulting and advisory space. So we did not have a product when I joined the team in 2018. We were doing more research for pension plans, associations, unions who were looking to provide more retirement security to their members, and we saw through that time that there was quite an opportunity. We knew there were a lot of underserved Canadians out there. So, there are around 10 million Canadians without a workplace retirement plan. We've got about 450,000 small, medium sized businesses in the country, and a huge percentage of those don't offer a group retirement plan. So, we just saw, there's this opportunity that we felt the market had overlooked within those segments. And we knew we wanted to use technology to both keep our cost to serve scalable while giving members access to the planning that would be really core to our experience. And really, it is like people they need some help. They want to get on top of retirement planning. And it's not just folks who are closer to retirement. A recent Hoop report showed that 65% of Canadians under 35 would switch jobs for a defined benefit pension plan. So Gen Z and millennials, they want to feel better prepared. And even if retirement is not their top priority, they want to know kind of how it all fits together. So we built a solution that really allows these businesses to remain competitive in recruitment and retention, enables advisors to really grow their book of business in group retirement. And since we've launched, we've also actually introduced financial planning to complement our digital self-serve planning experience. So to paint a little bit of a picture, every Commonwealth member must create a retirement plan when they join their employer's plan. In order to claim their employer match, they just have to go through a simple exercise. It takes 5 to 10 minutes to create a little retirement plan using our digital self-serve kind of onboarding flow. And now we've started to introduce like how do humans fit into that? How does that professional advice complement that self-serve planning?
So that's interesting. So you have a 3% plan, let's say, and it's matching. So meaning I would be able to contribute my 3% as my own savings. And once I complete that questionnaire, then the employer matching 3% would kick in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And we would even show how that 3% employer match impacts your retirement outcomes. So really trying to also give credit to the employer for the work they're doing to help improve their retirement security, even just paycheck by paycheck.
That's great. And one of the things it does inadvertently or whether it was planned is it checks off your CAPSA guidelines responsibility as well, right? As a plan
Mhm.
sponsor, offering that planning. And when you run your numbers, it's like everybody has a financial plan, which is great because if you make it an option, we all know that people get busy and they make their contribution, but the planning falls to the wayside, so to speak. Now, what's interesting to me is a lot of fintech apps, especially down south, they build engagement through market performance or speculative trends like crypto, and they gamify
Mhm.
the planning component of it or the usability component of it. Commonwealth went in a complete different route. Tell us why you chose not to gamify it and kind of kept it more formal.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think in general, there's a lot of FOMO out there. The fear of missing out. It can be both on the spending and investing front, and it kind of can feel sometimes like this pressure from whether it be a robo advisor, a social media influencer. It feels like there's this pressure to take undue risk to get ahead of the market. So it could be crypto, betting on IPOs, or trying to time the market. I would put sports betting into this same category. This idea that you're just one gamble away from financial security. And that's totally fine to do with your fun or your spending money. But when we're talking about retirement savings, you really need to be thinking more long term. And like you said, as a CAP provider, we need to be mindful about how we're presenting these options to a member. And there are a lot of people out there that are really comfortable with that risk, and they're almost like chasing that optimization. But when I talk to a plan member, which I try to do as much as possible, talk directly to our plan members, the sentiment is much more along the lines of like, hey, am I going to be okay? Is there anything I can do today to improve my situation tomorrow? There's so many emotions tied up with financial wellness. We really aim to reduce some of that stress and some of those negative emotions that might come out, shame, anxiety, feeling like a lack of confidence. And we really want to, keep things simple. So we found the best way to kind of help people through that kind of emotional experience is keep things simple, bring a little bit of clarity to them. So when someone logs into their Commonwealth plan, the first thing they're going to see is their retirement forecast. We give everybody a retirement readiness score and access to our educational content. They can certainly track their performance and make changes to their investment choices at any time, but we really try to enable that in a way that doesn't really feed into that FOMO, but is rather tied to their longer term financial goals. We really believe that Canadians are seeking clarity on retirement planning. What can I do today? It's not necessarily about optimizing every move. It's more about keeping things simple and really reducing that stress, that anxiety that folks are feeling when they see all these different options out there and are struggling to pick with what's the right one. When often doing nothing is maybe the best thing that you can do.
Yeah, very interesting. So it sounds like you're learning a lot as you try these different levers and engagement tools for the self-serve planning and otherwise. So, based on what you're learning along the way, when you sit down to design a new feature, a new experience, what's the North Star? What principles are you following?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So we're always going to start on the product team with who are we building for? And what kind of outcome are we trying to help them achieve? So I really encourage my team. We're working on the digital side. It means we work really closely with our frontline teams to understand that end user, that client, what they're coming with. But I always really encourage my team to talk to as many clients as possible to really get a sense of what are they struggling with. And we try to talk to as many people as possible, better understand like, okay, what's actually preventing you from achieving that goal? Start to document each of these. We really try to see these and frame them as opportunities. And then, okay, then we get to like, once we really understand that problem and we really understand like what's preventing people from reaching those goals, those outcomes, start to brainstorm solutions, test those solutions, iterate on them as much as possible. I'm really wanting to get feedback. We do a lot of journey mapping on our team. So we get on a whiteboard, we draw out the client experience and their journey. Where are the digital touch points? How do we incorporate human touch points? What kind of education might be needed at every decision point, at every different step? What's happening outside of the Commonwealth experience that could be motivating them to log in, to contact us, to think about their retirement plan? So really trying to understand that like end-to-end, more holistic experience. And again, like we pay a lot of attention to that emotional experience. So I don't think those, like I said, those things are not like the shame, the anxiety, the self-doubt. They're not really helped by some of the trends I mentioned earlier on. And we're really aiming to build something that not only helps the member improve their retirement outcomes, but also their self-confidence. And then when we get to building a more high fidelity, either digital self-serve experience or something where you're interacting with somebody from the Commonwealth team, so you're talking to a human, or potentially if you're navigating some of our educational content, we've got 4 guiding design principles we use across the team. The first one is guided. So every time you interact with Commonwealth, we should let you know what to expect, how long things are going to take, what do we need from you, and why. And really looking to empower clients to self-serve with confidence and looking for opportunities too to educate throughout, to integrate education whenever they're making a decision. Let's say it's, am I going to contribute to an RSP or TFSA? Well, here's some ideas and here's some education to help you make that decision. Our second design principle is empathetic. So we really try and put ourselves into the client's shoes, really trying to understand their needs, what's happening in their lives outside of the Commonwealth experience, what is pushing them to think about their retirement plan, what other financial needs, goals, lifestyle changes are they going through that might be driving them to look at their retirement plan. The third one is trustworthy. So, do our clients feel like, hey, we sweat the details? We eliminated any sources of confusion? Have we been transparent? We're quite transparent with our assumptions, what the planning assumptions we use, how long things might take, our fees. And, this is someone's life savings we're talking about. So, we see every interaction, every click, every screen, everything as an opportunity to really earn that trust. And then the fourth and last one is straightforward. So, have we simplified? Have we explained this concept in the simplest way possible? Have we removed jargon? Can we reduce the mental load in any other way? And I think really importantly, with any sort of financial software, have we done the math for you? So those four things: guided, empathetic, trustworthy, straightforward, they should be present in any interaction you've got with our platform, with our team, with our educational content, across all of our different client groups and user bases.
I am really enjoying this conversation, but let's pause here for a quick break. We're going to hear a short message from the Smart Health Benefits Association. Most advisors hear about legislative changes after they become law. The smart ones hear about it on Advocacy in Action. I'm Caroline, president of SHBA. We bring the distinct employer-sponsor perspective directly to the policy table. Stop reacting to the landscape and start shaping it. Search Advocacy in Action and subscribe today. Thank you. And we're back. Let's continue. I'm going to ask a follow-up question to Rahim here. Like, as an advisor with clients, when you're sitting, whether it's implementing a plan for the first time or doing a refresh education, this is a new way to position how the plan will engage or the provider will engage with the plan member. So tell us about a little bit of that discussion that you're having to prepare everyone for what's about to happen, because this is a different journey than in the past.
Yeah, and I would say, level setting, we as an industry, whether you're a record keeper or an advisor or a plan sponsor, through data and even anecdotally, we understand the importance of financial planning, right? You need to make a plan because without a plan, you may be taking undue risk. You may not be investing appropriately. You may not know uh, what the future is like, and we don't want anyone at 65 to have big surprises. So planning is very, very important. Plan members are asking. So all that, we're all on the same page. What's interesting is how we are positioning planning. So, Commonwealth has made a very deliberate decision to have planning embedded very early on in the process. And we live in a world right now where it's all about speed, right? So when we're working with clients, it's all about, if I'm changing carriers, how do I do it in a least disruptive way for a plan member? How do I enroll through a demographic file? How do I map? How do I make it easy, seamless? Whereas, what's interesting with Commonwealth is you've kind of put your planning process right at the beginning, which is very interesting because you're not bypassing that. So I hope I've answered your question, Caroline, around what the industry is like. Planning is absolutely important. If you're non-Commonwealth, there are tools, there are ways in which you could do it with every record keeper. It's just the numbers are not good. People don't do it unless there's an advisor walking them through it. But what I was curious with Joan is walk me through the decision that you had to make to kind of ignore industry dynamics around speeding things up, and you've kind of have your process at the front of it all.
Yeah. So this kind of really goes back to our mission, really, around providing and enabling access to retirement security for all Canadians. And we strongly believe at Commonwealth, and I think the evidence does show that in order to achieve retirement security, you do need a plan. You need a way to get there. So when we first started designing out our onboarding flow, our user experience back in 2019, we really put that mission front and center and did ignore a lot of conventional advice, both from our industry and across the board. Like, people, it's all about frictionless. It's all about seamless. Get people in as quick as possible. Just get them signed up and you can deal with the planning later. We decided to take a different approach. So everybody must create a retirement plan when they join a Commonwealth plan. It's embedded in our digital onboarding experience, and you need to do that in order to claim your employer match. So we kind of thought there is a lot of value here. People really do want to claim that 5%, that 3%, that whatever's on the table from their employers. So they're motivated to spend a couple extra minutes creating that. So we take a couple simple inputs. So we got your income today, your target retirement age, how much you've saved for retirement, and how much you and your employer will contribute each paycheck. We estimate how much you'll get from government benefits. And with that information, we can provide a retirement forecast, giving them a readiness score. And they essentially have their first draft of a written plan. We see really strong participation rates. Most folks complete this in 10 minutes or less. And when we do have one-on-one conversations with members about their plan, those discussions are so rich because we aren't getting like the basic details down. We already have them. We can jump into a discussion about how to increase their retirement readiness by small increments, helping them get further towards their goal. Like I said, when we designed this back in 2019, we were advised against it due to that friction, but members have gotten so much value out of it. It's shown like people are going through that flow. We've got, like I said, strong participation rates. We got so much value out of it that we actually redesigned our entire onboarding experience in 2025, rebuilt it from the ground up, and we doubled down on that planning and invested more in our post-onboarding planning and educational tools. So it has been, I'd say a success. And if you're a plan sponsor with a Commonwealth plan, 100% of your employees who are getting that match will have created a retirement plan. So when you think to, CAPSA guidelines, plan engagement, retirement readiness, it really is checking all those boxes.
Great.
So I want to dive into something here that I think is more timely than ever. We always, in today's world, are thinking about that, easy self-serve planning online with an interface with a computer with human advice. And I'm going to, take us a little bit off-roading here. I'm thinking about this balloon arch I'm going to make, right? I can watch YouTube. I can, watch it. I've never done it before. I can try and do step by step. But then I've got on site my party planner friend who does this for a living, right? She's going to add in these extra tips that help me get it right and reduce my frustration or ask questions that obviously I couldn't ask the YouTube video. So that's my big analogy. So when we think about the relationship between your online experience and the financial planning team, where does one end and the other begin?
Yeah, it's a great question. So certainly I think that that professional advice, that personal plan that you can really only get by working with another person, like that one-on-one relationship is so important. And the self-serve, the digital, they complement each other. They don't replace each other. I think that's really important. A KPMG study from last year showed that Canadians who do have a professional financial plan are more than twice as confident they'll be able to retire when they want compared to those without a planner. So the way that we've architected things around the client journey is that folks can come in, do some self-serve planning on the site, on their app. They could potentially join a webinar. We are offering education-focused webinars, or we have a series of guide to retirement videos. So there's a lots of different ways that you can engage with planning, whether it be using a self-serve tool or furthering education, just to start building out your knowledge and confidence. We offer a variety of options depending on their needs. So, contact our support team if it's something that's a little bit more administrative in nature. We also offer what we call a plan review. with one of our retirement specialists. So this is a cross-functional group of our team members who get specialized training, but are not necessarily licensed. Although some of them are, some of us are. Topics covered in these could be things like, what do I do if I'm changing jobs? Trying to decide between RSP and TFSA, or helping someone think through financial goals. So focused here on education and how to use our self-serve tools. But a member can also book in with one of our financial planners to get professional advice about their personal situation. So this can be about retirement or any other life event they're navigating that has kind of financial repercussions they need to make some decisions around. And, this becomes more and more important as people are getting closer to retirement. Because saving for retirement is one thing. It's hard. You need to find the money in your budget to do so. You need to stay on top of it. You need to make the right investment choices. When it comes to building out that accumulation strategy or that retirement income strategy, it's totally different ballgame. And you really do need to seek out some professional advice for that, or we really strongly suggest that you do. So, so every member who's coming to these conversations with a Commonwealth financial planner has a written plan already. And it's really about how do we take that initial plan that you've built and make it more personalized to you, help you, what can you do in the next 5 years to prep you for that transition into life after work. How can we get more value to the member right out of the gate through those financial planning, through those professional advice conversations? So it doesn't become about data entry because we've already gathered a bunch of data from the member around their retirement plan. And it becomes a richer conversation around, okay, well, how can we help you meet these goals? And how can we adjust these goals to be more in line with your personal vision for your retirement? How can we help you understand some of the trade-offs you may need to make? How can we help you retire with confidence? And that is really done through, I think, a conversation one-on-one with a planner, two-on-one potentially, if you're with your spouse, because this is a family decision, a family transition, right, as going into retirement.
And no surprise, this is good news. Hey, Rahim, for advisors, yourself and others listening, it shows the value of what you do, as humans sitting across the table with both the small business employer, creating and designing to implement a plan, but then also obviously the plan members, the employees, their spouses, their families. So very again, no surprise and very validating that this is a value here.
Absolutely. And Joan, this is a part of the program where we give Commonwealth some flowers. So, I know recently you were just recognized in a global study out of Australia on the work you've done around digital planning and human advice. I just curious, what does that mean to you working in this field and what caught their attention?
So the report itself was just so fascinating. The thesis of the report was that people across all generations are becoming more and more comfortable using these self-serve planning tools, and that folks who have used them are more likely to seek out advice from a professional and do it earlier on. So it was really exciting for us to get that global recognition. What caught their eye was really around how we've embedded that planning. It's core to our experience. It's part of our onboarding, as I mentioned earlier. So, it gave us a lot to reflect on. You'll hear a lot in life about learning from your failures, but not often learning from your successes. So it just gave us that opportunity to really sit back and reflect. And when we built our product, I don't think we necessarily had that thought that the digital planning, that self-serve planning, would really lead into those professional human conversations. It was more just about how can we help people find a bit more clarity, improve their retirement outcomes even a little bit. But now looking at that research that's come out, it really underlines the opportunity that we've created for our clients. So particularly, when you consider the complexity of building a retirement income plan and how the earlier you seek that professional advice, the better off you're likely to be.
Yeah, it's about creating that roadmap. And I'm sitting here thinking about, anytime you're going to complete a bit of a questionnaire, let's call it online, it's going to help you build your own confidence in what you're talking about, but also imagine some of the questions that you would have when you get to sit down with that human giving you advice. So I'm really excited. I'm very encouraged to hear the amount of work and research that you take this and then come out with kind of a refresh like what you just did in 2025. And I really can't wait for the future. I think maybe one final question I would say for, last tidbit, 5 years from now, when we have you back as a guest, what will we see in the next 5 years? Where do you think this is going, this intersection between human and self-serve planning and the digital space?
Yeah, I mean, I think the obvious one right away is how will AI change how we approach these kind of tools? So people are seeking out advice and planning from AI. I think a Fidelity survey recently showed that 26% of pre-retirees had used AI, but that confidence is still low. So I'm starting to think about how can we use that like really exciting new technology, really exciting tools out there to help members, maybe a more conversational, maybe a more personalized, but something that is built on kind of robust research and assumptions and still has all of that like evidence-based approach that can really be helpful. Because I do worry a little bit if you're just using any old AI tool, it doesn't really have your personal situation embedded in it. That would be one area that I'm quite excited about looking into and building for and with. And then I mentioned it a couple times, but retirement income and decumulation. It's becoming more top of mind for us at Commonwealth. And this is a much more complicated and personal area of planning. So, how do we build out those self serve tools using technologies like AI and embed that personal, professional advice from a human and that relationship that you can have with the planner that can really take you from that pre retiree into retirement? And I'd love to be back here in 5 years talking about that and what we've built to enable that.
Amazing. Well, this has been an excellent episode. I think any business owner listening to this today would walk away knowing, okay, it's this great marriage of tools and humans that we can use to just really help people retire and help them plan even better and be more knowledgeable. Final word over to you, Rahim.
No, I loved it. I think it's so interesting in the strategic decision that Commonwealth made on the positioning of how you look at retirement and where in the workflow for a plan member does that fit best. I think I'd say as an industry, I think the entire industry is a huge advocate of member advice and planning and all of that. So we are in a much better place today than we were 10 years ago. And I think the numbers will continue to improve as we continue to reiterate the importance of planning.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Joan, for joining us today on the Benefits Alliance Voice podcast. We'll look forward to seeing you in 5 years.
Yeah, thanks for
Hopefully
having me. And
sooner.
Yeah.
best best of luck with the balloon arch. I look forward to seeing how that comes together.
Thank you. This has been the Benefits Alliance Voice. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your network and be sure to check out the podcast notes for any additional materials.